they try to blow my mind. I don't care.
All right, family, so I stand here in St. Augustine, Florida, in front of a fort that was erected by the Spaniards to fight off the British and the French from coming into the harbor and into the port to take over their portion of Florida. Now, why is this fort so significant? It was ran by George Byasu. Again, one of the founding fathers or leaders of the Haitian Revolution. This is where he would train runaway African slaves and make them join his militia, his army. Now, this brother was very, very determined to free African people. It was said that he was a very harsh general to his soldiers. So much so that the phrase in Haitian culture was coined after this gentleman's first name. This is why Haitians use the phrase "Ouap kon George," because he was such a cruel general. He didn't take any excuses from his soldiers. And so I stand here today in front of this fort with this African man trained runaway African slaves and was able to fight off the British, the French, and any other opposing troops that attacked his forts and his places. It is not until after George Byasu became an ancestor that the United States was able to get a grip on Florida. So this is one of the greatest black generals, African generals, Haitian generals that we do not celebrate. We should honor his name and all his contributions to African history, to world history, to Florida history, and specifically to Haitian history. Peace, peace, black family. So I stand in front of Talamato Cemetery in St. Augustine, Florida, where George is actually buried. Now you're probably asking, Brother Hassan, why are you standing outside the cemetery and not inside the cemetery? Well, due to COVID-19, the cemetery is closed. But let me tell you something. I didn't drive all the way from Miami to St. Augustine, Florida, 4 hours away, without checking online first. I checked online. And guess what? They said the cemetery was open. So this goes to all you Negroes who run around and talk about, see, that's why I can't stand black businesses. Because black businesses, they never operate within the right times. And they never be doing this, never be doing that. Negro, I drove 4 hours to come to a closed cemetery. And online, it said it was open. And white people run this. You see what I'm trying to say? But George is buried in here. And I can't even go inside. I have to stay on the outside. I drove 4 hours. Burnt my gas up. So directly behind me is the old city gates. And this is where you would have African slaves escaping from South Carolina, from North Carolina, from Virginia, making their way all the way down to Florida, to these gates right here. And this is where they will become free once they entered in these gates into this city town. Here's a tidbit you might not know about St. Augustine, Florida. On May 18, 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King came to St. Augustine, Florida to continue his fight to desegregate the United States. And on May 29th of that same year, the house that he was staying in was shot up. Yes, these white supremacists in Florida tried to assassinate Martin Luther King by riddling his rental house with bullets. From then on, Dr. Martin Luther King did not feel safe and would stay at different rental properties in St. Augustine, Florida. And it only became worse for him. June of that same year, he was arrested for trying to do a sit-in.
I must say to you tonight that violence in our struggle is impractical, whether it's in Harlem or Jersey City or St. Augustine, Florida. We have another method that is much more powerful and much more effective than the weapon of violence. We must come to see.
And until next time, family, think black, stay black, love black, and support black. And that's real African black power. Welcome, George.